Hey, let's film this one. Let's film this one like I was gonna quit on Friday. Let's do like one last one. All right.
Welcome back. So you didn't quit. It's Monday. You're still here. I thought you meant like you were gonna quit on Friday, but you're back on Monday.
Hey, my last day is on Friday. It's Monday.
I don't understand why you
What is up, Watch Fam? I am Christian, the curator of the Theo and Harris Watch Shop.
My name is Michael, and this video is sponsored by Huckberry.
I got this watch, this Unimatic, beautiful Unimatic,
yeah.
on Huckberry. We'll talk more about the whole company and what I buy from there later.
Yes.
Great. What are we talking about today, Big Mike?
Well, today we're talking about two things. One is the new AP, sponsored by Grand Seiko, as you said.
Bizarre.
Which is very weird. We'll talk about that first, and then we're going to jump into, which we have talked about before, but really, when you look at the scale of LVMH, the biggest conglomerate in the world that has to do with fashion and luxury and stuff, they have their own watch week, which is a very Apple thing to do, being like, well, we're going to have our own. And how it is not right now, really at all, but how eventually, you know, we could have a lot of amazing stuff coming out of LVMH that rivals a bunch of other big brands. They have Bulgari, Hublot, Tag Heuer, and Zenith.
Yeah, they've got big brands.
They've got big brands, but when you talk about big brands in the watch nerdy space, they have niche brands. Yes. The famous line being, I'm wearing my Zenith Revival Shadow. The famous line being, oh, you're the fan of Zenith.
Yeah, right, exactly. So we'll talk more about it later, but it is very interesting.
It is very interesting to that scale, being like, you're going to figure it out.
Oh, yeah.
You never doubt the guy.
Yeah.
Especially the company that is throwing their own watch and wonders, essentially. Their own, what was the?
Baselworld.
Baselworld, yes. Yeah. I was there when they canceled it.
Yep. AP, yeah. Okay, so this is an AP Tourbillon. It's new. They quietly released these, this model. The dials, I mean, they do look like Grand Seiko dials, which is kind of funny.
This is the offhand comment.
It is exactly, and anyone who sees this, I think this watch will be called the Grand Seiko Tourbillon. I think the Grand Seiko AP.
Really?
Oh yeah.
That would
I think people will
funny.
any watch meetup. I think people will say that because it's just so similar. Yeah.
Which is crazy when you think about AP being called a Grand Seiko.
Yeah.
It's not like Grand Seiko being called an AP, which is like, oh wow, it's a very nice watch, I guess, or whatever. It's
exactly.
Like, oh, you did what those guys did.
Yes, but it is beautiful.
Yes, it's gorgeous. I really like the frosted bezel.
Yep. Very nice.
I think it's awesome.
I had an AP Tourbillon for a while, maybe 6-8 months.
It felt cheap, right?
You know what's funny is at the time I didn't think it was. I mean, it was
a Royal Oak.
Yeah, it was a Royal Oak Tourbillon. Yeah, it was a cool watch. It was big for my wrist, so I didn't love it for that reason.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was. I think I paid $60,000 or $70,000 or something like that. Mm-hmm. And it was, that was like what it was worth. Like, that was it. Yeah. These watches went up into the, probably over $200,000 during COVID. But at the time, you could barely. It was hard to sell. There weren't a lot of buyers looking to buy. Yeah, hyper complicated. Sports.
Larger.
It just wasn't going to happen. Now they're great. I was actually at UPS in my town recently.
You wouldn't believe it. The clerk had one.
No, did I tell you the story about this?
No.
Oh, I didn't tell you. This is a great story. So I'm at UPS like maybe 3 weeks ago.
Yes.
And the guy was wearing a AP Torb, and I said, one of the guys, was boxing him up, and I said, oh, great watch, and he's like, oh, do you like it? Like, do you like AP? And I was like, yeah, I had one of those for a while. And he's like, not the Torb. I was like, no, the Torb. For a while. He's like, well, why'd you get rid of it? I was like, I don't know. It was way too big for my wrist. Like, but it looks great.
Kind of like yours.
Yeah, it looks great. It looks great. He goes, oh, you did. When was it? I was like, I don't know. Like 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I don't know. And he's like, oh, it wasn't this one though. This one was released this year. It's special dial. I was like, okay. You know what? How about we pull down our pants? Let's do this. Okay, let's fucking do this. Let's have a cockfight.
Right.
Idiot.
You know what a cockfight is.
Yeah.
Right?
What? So I was like, fuck you, dude. Like, it totally put a sour taste in my mouth about AP. And the truth is, yes, when I owned that watch, it did not mean the same thing as when you own it now. If you own that watch now, you are the big swinging. You have a really hard to get watch. When I had it, it was not that cool, you know, which didn't make me a forward thinker. I thought I was going to make money on it when I, you know, so, you know, it wasn't like I was this tastemaker, you know. Yeah, right. I was just like, oh, I don't know, this is undervalued, 60,000 for this. This is undervalued.
Yeah.
You know.
Did you sell it for a good profit?
No. No, I think
maybe I
made $5,000.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a total waste of money.
You've mentioned that before. It's like, why am I going to throw all this money around to make the same, or just comparatively still low margin?
Oh, totally. It was ridiculous. Total waste of money.
Wow. At least you got to tell that guy you had one. He probably still thinks about that.
Yeah, exactly.
He probably sold the watch immediately.
I know. It's in my past.
Okay, so some 14-year-old can get it now?
Yeah, exactly. Isn't that funny, though?
Yeah.
But anyway, so the point is, this watch was just released. I happen to like it. Yeah, I think it's kind of cool. Do you like tourbillons? Do you like them?
Tourbillons? No. Well, it's not that I don't like them, but if someone said you can get the Royal Oak for this amount or you can get the tourbillon for this amount, I'd be like, I don't need the tourbillon. It doesn't do enough.
Yeah. Well, okay, for those of you who don't know, a tourbillon basically works to counteract the effects of gravity. So you're, not in theory, in practice, but not noticeably, gravity does weigh down your balance and your mainspring, and it alters how time is kept. That being said, these watches without tourbillons are still not running within seconds.
You have a chronometer,
seconds, a day.
And that being said, you can get a quartz watch even more.
Even more accurate.
I even said I could just use my phone.
So this is so it's definitely more of an art piece. You can use it as a way to show how cool you are, but really it's, if you want to be on the more like poetic end, it's you are supporting a, albeit useless but very important technological craft.
Yes. Exactly. Yes.
So that's very cool.
Yes.
I just don't like the hole in the dial.
Exactly. I was about to say, like when in the metals when you would say it's intriguing like the eye of a lotus flower.
I hated it so much.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I hate it.
I feel the same with what are those?
Honeycombs?
No. The vegetables that you steam them, they get soft, you pull them off like piece by piece. You go like this. Artichokes
creep you out?
Well, she sliced the top off, and I was like pulling it open, and it
grossed
was like,
you out, really?
Yeah, I was like,
wow, interesting. Yeah. I like an artichoke. I love
artichokes, but just the way it looks, I was like, this is odd. There's a lot of hidden secrets in there.
You'd hate oysters.
I do hate oysters.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, I love an oyster.
You know what happened recently? I was with a vegan.
Oh my god.
At a party, and oysters are vegan.
Yeah, I
know. Or whatever. Yeah. So they assumed, I know. So they assumed clams were vegan.
Clams are not vegan.
So they put it in their mouth, and I was like, and they just like did it.
No problem.
No, no problem. They're like, ooh, this is gross. This is like the texture's different. Everything's different. I was like, right. In my head, I was like, that's a body.
That thing is screaming.
That thing is wondering where it's going right now.
My
Why
God.
isn't it in its shell? And I was confronted with the. Do I say something after you did that, or the next one that goes up? Do I
say something?
No. But they didn't like it.
I think that it's only murder, requires knowledge that you are committing. It's a mens rea, right? It requires the knowledge that you are in fact committing murder. So does a clam have a nervous system? If you didn't even know it had a nervous system,
you do some sick things after work, don't you?
Anyway, this is not the AP that I would get.
No,
I would love the white gold chrono.
I think the dial is strikingly beautiful.
Yes.
So I'm like, get that little lotus flower out there.
Yeah, I agree. You know who's also cool is what's the brand?
Oh, Patek Philippe.
No,
they're super cool.
Well, Patek does it as well. Tourbillon that's not shown on the dial. Or was it?
Tourbillon? Are you talking about?
I'm talking about Laurent Ferrier.
Laurent Ferrier.
Laurent Ferrier does watches that in their enamel dial it will say tourbillon very faintly, and it is on the back, but not visible from the front.
That's cool.
That's a tremendous.
That is so high level of supporting the arts.
Huge high level.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I think that's pretty cool.
We're not talking PTA anymore. Okay, this video is sponsored by Huckberry. Obviously, we all know Huckberry as, they make heritage clothing, they make non-heritage clothing, they make athletic wear, all beautiful stuff. A lot of it's made in the USA.
Yep.
But now they're also starting to sell some watches, one of which is on your wrist right now.
Yeah, I was actually surprised when I heard this. When Huckberry was telling us that they were starting to sell watches, I was like, I don't know, what you're not a watch company, I was kind of skeptical, admittedly. And when Unimatic came up, I was like, oh wait, do you guys know about watches?
Same.
You must actually care about this.
Yeah, right. They were like, oh, well, what do you like? I was like, Unimatic. Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Incredibly good watches.
Yeah.
Again, Huckberry is an authorized retailer of the brand, whereas, their brand is selling a lot of clothing. I actually just got it in this waxed cotton apron.
Yeah.
Phenomenal cooking
up a storm.
I look so good cooking up a storm in that apron. So I shop a lot of their clothes now. But yeah, I was like, holy crap, they actually have a phenomenal watch selection.
Unimatic is an Italian company.
Yep.
They have all the text on the bottom, which is unique.
I think it's great.
Unimatic just strikes me as that brand that is like, we're going to just do something different, and if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't.
Totally.
And if you're into the watch world and you're looking for something that doesn't break the bank, but you want it to be different, Unimatic 100%.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, I get... One of the questions I get the most, actually from family and friends, is, "Hey, I'm looking to buy a watch. I'd like to spend under $750." That seems to be a popular budget, and meaning for themselves or for a graduation. Listen, not everyone is going to go and spend, "Hey, I want to buy my son a watch. Here's $4,000." Right? Yeah. They're usually saying $750, and they really mean $500, but they're trying to they're embarrassed,
Exactly.
And Unimatic has always been one of the very few brands that I'll recommend. Yeah. And I'm even more hyped about it that Huckberry has partnered with him.
Yeah.
Because it really gives awareness and a voice to a brand that deserves it, but hasn't been famous. It's been a watch guy's brand for a long time.
So
it's cool to see them get so much praise.
And it comes in this baby pelican case.
Totally.
And because when you receive the watch, when it comes in actually has another spot for another watch.
So cool.
So you get a watch case with it.
I love it.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal watch. It's a phenomenal watch. I definitely recommend it. You know that I'm not a big fan of a lot of other brands that are in this price point, especially in the dive style. Yeah. Not my style. I like this strip back. This is very militant almost.
Very unique,
very utilitarian. I think it's cool. I adore this watch. So very cool job to Huckberry for supporting small micro brands and doing it in an important way, in a powerful way. I think that's amazing.
If you're interested, check out our link below and you can look at the watch right there. And also look at any of other Huckberry's offerings.
Okay, LVMH Watch Week kicks off the show season in Singapore.
Yeah, really, nothing's been released yet. There's some watches last year listed here, but nothing's been released. It's really just the fact that LVMH Watch Week. Yeah, that's a big deal. Yeah, because of, again, maybe something this year, but nothing. Right?
Yeah, no, I was forming my thought.
Oh, okay, nothing this year, or maybe something this year. Who knows? But just when you have that much power and that much funding to push around and that many resources, that many resources? Yeah. Sounds weird. English, it's not my first language. But you're going to hit gold eventually. Yes. And they have hit gold on single models. But when you look at Rolex, for example, they essentially, every single one of their watches became a hit. Yes. When most brands have one or two hits. Yes. They will hit enough gold where all of these together will be a huge powerhouse.
What I think is so interesting about LVMH, and I suppose it's, their catalog of watch brands is much smaller than the other two, major conglomerates,
Bulgari,
Swatch
Hublot,
and
Tag Heuer, Zenith.
Right, whereas Swatch and Richemont own many more brands than that. But what's interesting about this very focused collection is it has two faces, right? Mm-hmm. It has the Tag Heuer Hublot face. Yes. That is very mass market, not necessarily bad watches, good watches, but great mass market capabilities. Yes. And then it has Zenith and Bulgari. Neither of those watches are mass market. Both of those watch brands are relatively low in production and really enthusiast brands. So it's weird. They only have 4 brands and that's what it is. Yeah. It's also interesting that Bulgari purchased LVMH, maybe through Bulgari, I don't know. Sure. But Daniel Roth recently. Really? Yes. So Daniel Roth is another watchmaker, but a watch brand that they are now reviving. It's a brand that is still slightly unknown, but tremendous and very rich history in this business. In that, I think it was 90s and kind of era of watchmaking. I know a lot of people that say they remember when you couldn't sell a Daniel Roth, and now they're very, very popular watches.
They're beautiful,
with a super big cult following. Yeah,
they're stunning.
Yeah, they're very, very cool. Especially their chronographs, if you look them up. Not just that one. There are some phenomenal watches.
Even that.
Plat, very cool. So we're gonna see what we know. It's just funny that LVMH would invest, in that. I mean, talk about reviving a undercover, like super, collector, nerdy.
Yeah. This looks like the collector that has this also talks about Philippe Dufour a lot and talks about handmade. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
They're not that guy that's flashing anything unless you know. And even then, if you know, you have to know a little bit more than normal.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. It takes a special kind of person to spend, $30,000 on a watch that really no one knows about.
Right.
That's interesting.
That everyone's going to think, even if they're in the watch world, they'll be like, is it like Patek?
Yeah.
Is it like
if they
Patek?
even do. And even if they do say that, which would be impressive, they're going to assume that it's not as good as, you know what I mean? Like, if you don't know, you're like, so why didn't you just get a Patek?
Yeah, right.
So you're really buying that for yourself, obviously for some small collector groups, but really for yourself. Yeah. That's an interesting buyer. So LVMH, again, being so large and so mass market as a conglomerate.
I was going to say, because I don't think of the typical LVMH consumer as a low-key I want like a brand that focuses on the artisanal side only.
Yeah.
Only.
I'm not super familiar with all of LVMH's holdings, but even they own obviously Veuve Clicquot, which is a very mass market champagne.
Yeah.
But they also have other vineyards in I think in Bordeaux specifically that are far more boutiquey and not mass market.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that this brand has these the kind of duality is interesting.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. If I had to guess, I personally think Zenith's line is a hit. Their Defy line, I think that's great.
Yes.
I think it's missing, maybe, honestly, a beautiful steel model. Like a truly just, or not even beautiful, a mass market steel model.
Yeah. No, I get what you mean.
You know what I mean? Like the Zenith Defy even is collector-y. You're like,
but just think about to make the watches more attractive. I mean, if you want to produce more buyers, you have to produce more watches, and they're not a high production company.
True.
Whereas TAG has huge capabilities.
TAG just pumps things out.
Right. So that's the brand that I see will always be the real moneymaker for them. I mean, I think that not you and I, but people in the watch industry. Yeah, Hublot as well. But TAG is just so...
everybody knows of a TAG.
Everyone knows of it. It's aspirational to a whole hell of a lot of people.
For a different reason.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's the brand that I think will always carry and fund really a lot of LVMH's watch endeavors.
Yeah, Hublot and TAG. Hublot is massive.
Yeah.
They just destroy.
Whereas Bulgari, specifically even more so than Zenith, is a brand that keeps LVMH around like
relevant?
Relevant for a specific group of people that are kind of like just specifically like wealthy collectors.
Right.
Otherwise, LVMH isn't in the conversation. I mean, wealthy collectors. I mean, Zeniths are amazing watches, but they're below in price point relative where they need to be. Those guys want to talk about watches that are hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right.
And Bulgari does manufacture. They produce world record watches.
Yeah.
So it's weird that LVMH always wants to have the ear of those people. Even though it represents a small portion of their portfolio, they still want to cater to them a little.
Completely, right.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's interesting. The LVMH in general is interesting in the watch world because it feels like if they want to swing, they'll take a swing. I feel like they're just like walking up to the batter's box, essentially right now.
You know what I heard? That the average Louis Vuitton client makes $70,000 a year.
Wow.
Yeah. Whereas perception would have it that it's far higher. Of
course.
They probably have them in the 1%, right? LVMH is probably I mean,
that is
their brand is a 1% brand to the outside.
Marketed as
a 1% brand. 1% being, I think, people that make over 400,000, and the average buyer, I believe, is 70,000. Wow. That's a pretty big difference, man.
That's a pretty. I don't know a good saying for it. But that's a pretty you got everybody marketing wise. You got them all.
Yeah,
you got
exactly. Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting. But yeah, I mean, listen, I don't own an LVMH watch, but
I do.
You've had multiple.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal watch.
Honestly.
I wish that they made Zenith larger. I do. I just don't see it happening.
I would love it if they really dove into, because when you look at Bulgari and Zenith, I feel like Bulgari, if you hit that 6-figure watch range, you're getting the thinnest watch or some crazy something or else. I feel like Zenith, they start, they have the tourbillon, things like that, but they start, instead of adding more complications and watch nerdy things, they're like, well, okay, well, it definitely has to be of gold. We'll put jewels on. Right. 2 different ways to hit that 6-figure range.
Yeah.
I wish they put Zenith in that direction.
Yeah.
And then expanded their purely, it sounds dumb to say, this looks like a watch.
Wow. I mean, the more I look at this collection, right? Bulgari, Hublot, Tag Heuer, and Zenith, right? Think about how distinctive these brands are.
Yeah.
Bulgari is for the distinguished collector that wants to spend, that can go pretty high.
But also, you could bring in, if your wife isn't too into watches, you get the circuit watch.
That's
you
a
get
whole,
the jewels.
That's a whole other story, which is enormous.
But that's a big pivot.
Oh,
if you
totally.
Get that.
Huge part of the Bulgari business. 100%. There's huge upside in the Bulgari business.
Yes.
But just even keeping within the watches, that is for people that with a curated taste, kind of deep pockets.
Yep.
You can get something really nice.
Right.
Hublot is the only watch here that really belongs in their collection in Miami or the Hamptons.
Yes.
Or so many other major, hypey, super wealthy places.
Yes.
Because the people that are there are on the more ostentatious side. They're looking to have fun and they're looking to blow big stacks of cash.
Right. Okay. And it has to be seen.
Totally.
Right.
Tag Heuer is on the entry level side of luxury.
Yep.
It has, great, kind of, it's aspirational, but it's affordable.
Yes.
There's which is most people in the world.
Yep.
Right.
I didn't want the Rolex. I couldn't get the Rolex, but they do have tags, and the salesperson said, Tag is the rival of Rolex.
Right. Exactly. Huge. Yep. And it always has been. Right.
Yep.
And Zenith is for the guy that says, well, tags are a little bit, a little bit simple for me. It's great. I like the brand. It's great for a lot of people. I recommend it to people, but I'm really looking for something a little bit more complicated, something a little bit more, interesting and expensive.
That's exactly what I said when I went on their website.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
But
that's funny how they've broken up. It's only 4 brands.
Right.
But have they really...
They made a funnel, right.
Yeah, they've really done a great job
when
at
Swatch
targeting.
and Richemont is kind of like, well, we got the watch.
Let's just throw a bunch of the wall.
Yeah, we got the watch guys. We got them all,
Exactly. It's very different.
Yeah. But anyways, not a huge discussion. It's just, I feel like 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, maybe even sooner, who knows, with this year, they're going to be a much stronger presence in terms of the Swiss Army knife of watch brands. There's obviously 2 much bigger conglomerates in the watch world, but not bigger than LVMH.
Yes.
So LVMH can do what they want. They just haven't yet.
Agreed. One more note before we close out.
Yep.
In the bottom right there, you got a Cartier. You got this Cartier Must. The Solar Beat, whatever.
Yeah.
My mom has been asking me to borrow. My mom wants a Cartier watch. And has wanted one for a year, maybe more. And she bugs me about it all the time. I want to buy a Cartier. I want to buy a Cartier. And I'm just like, cut it out. You don't need to buy a watch. We have so many watches. I have so many watches.
Right.
Take one of mine.
Right.
And then she always says, but you won't let me wear it. To which I say, well, you wear a lot of bracelets, and I won't let you wear one of my watches with your fucking bracelets.
Yeah,
so
sure.
move your watch off on its own. And she's like, well, then let me just buy a fucking Cartier. Let me ruin my watch. And I'm like, no. So my mom said yesterday, she goes, I'm just going to go to the fucking store, you, and I'm going to just go get, a Cartier. And that's what I'm going to do. And I'm like, don't do that. Please don't do that.
Right.
if you don't need to go to a boutique.
Mama.
Yeah, right. Mama, stop being so stupid.
Mama, please.
Yeah, exactly. And she goes, and I'm like, which one are you going to get? She goes, I don't know. Maybe I'll just get the cheapest one just to bother you. To which I said, actually, the cheapest one is the best one.
Like,
and
that's
it's
awesome.
the solar. It's
Yeah.
the must. It's the solar. It's the best one. That's actually not the worst idea.
She's like,
do that.
Now you can't lose. You're like,
Yeah, I know. But that was my mom.
that's Jen.
That's Jen. Just, she should just wear one of mine, but I don't know. I just
Too
don't
many
want
other
her
Cartier bracelets, actually.
I know,
is the point.
exactly. But I just don't like that. The whole scratching. It's just not for me. I mean, I wear my watch regular. That's fine. I don't baby it. But
That's why all the top watch collectors have a right arm full of different colored beads.
Yeah, exactly.
Always, without fail.
Isn't
You
that
always
funny?
have beads.
Yeah.
But probably 1,000 people are like,
I have my.
oh, that's not
beads.
cool anymore. I thought the beads were in.
Yeah, exactly.
My granddaughter made this, or whatever story it goes.
But that's it. So do you buy your mom watches, or do you let your mom buy watches, or do you say, hey, listen, I'm the authority here. Don't do it until I say, which is what I do.
Tell us about your moms.
Tell us about your moms.